YouTube, we're here with an amazing unboxing. As you know, unboxings are amazing. You get to see me open one. Look how small this thing is. It's super dinky. In case you were wondering how dinky exactly it is, in inches, it's 26 inches long by 25 and a half, plus however much this constitutes, the handle that is, when it's not clasped properly. And then don't forget your 7¼ inches deep. Plus, you're gonna have a second box on here. This thing is big. It's gonna qualify for expensive shipping for those of you who don't qualify for the free shipping. I'm in North America, so I get free shipping, but I got this at my hobby town. And the reason I did that is because the Horizon Hobby Rewards program is a joke, and I wish they would fix it. Because 10% off coupons were way better to me, and they did drive my purchasing. Anyway, that being said, without further ado, let's look at the Aero Commander Bind and Fly for 150 bucks. Oh, it's gorgeously packed. Hey, note to self, Horizon. Look how much room you have here. You could have made this box a lot smaller and still protected this plane. Although, it looks beautiful and it looks undamaged. So kudos to you. As usual, we're going to untape this side. Keep the stuff, because these are really good packages to transport your UMX planes, which you would think, interestingly enough, UMX planes are hard to transport. Because I take them out of the packages, and a big plane holds up a little bit better to a bump when you're braking or if the plane shifts. These things do not, because they're very thin. That being said, I don't usually drive anywhere and fly these things. These things pretty much fly here. And then occasionally I'll take them somewhere for fun, but... Okay. Gorgeous, perfect fitting knobs. Oh yes, look at that thing. That thing is gorgeous. 3-bladed props. Brushless, it's actually quite large. Ooh, a little flexibility there, guys. Obviously, we got this so it don't stick, which is kind of nice. I'll be discarding that shortly. And then of course, underneath, we've got that so it doesn't stick. Predominantly because if you had paint that was unfinished drying. Okay, so just look at what they did. That is very interesting. I thought they poked those through. I thought that's a lot of work. Landing gear are very light. Scale shape, scale size, but no scale landing gear door is kind of a bummer. I noticed on this plane, Horizon must have really been trying to keep the weight down because I didn't see a ton of scale details. And just looking at it, looks like it's got a seam all the way down the middle here. So and then the seam goes down actually. So it's consistent with what we've seen in previous UMX planes for coming apart. Okay, so the canopy pulls forward. Don't lift straight up. You might break the tab. There's 2 magnets here. They seem amply strong. I'm sure going upside down eventually somebody's going to lose a canopy. And interestingly, they taped over the magnets, which is really nice. Why don't you pause it? Okay guys, so what I was saying about this hatch is it's nice that they actually put the tape over the top of the magnets. It helps the magnets not to pull out if the glue were to fail. It's really handy. Good tip for just normal use. Looking inside this, can you get a shot down in there? Mm-hmm. It looks like what we've got is basically the standard, well, it's actually a bigger brick, but it's got the dual ESCs built in, and there is most definitely an X port on there. I'm not sure if that port is going to be available for use or if it's just going to be for like an FPV configuration. But I see 1 servo with 2 linkages that go out to the elevator, and then 1 servo, the ultra micro variety, linear long throw servos, 1 for steerable nose gear, and 1 for rudder, which is quite sizable. Look how big that thing is, guys. It starts here. It's hard to see because of the red line, but it looks like it's going to be a good size. A little bit nervous about battery sizing. I don't have, whoa, I just noticed that. Do you see that? There's a bite in my foam right there. Do you see it? There's a big old bite in my foam. Not really sure what happened there, but I don't know. I guess if it's a problem, I'll call Horizon. They'll probably send me a new fuselage so I can tear everything apart and put it together again, which would be a huge pain in the butt. So probably not going to be doing that. Anyway, magnets are very strong. It looks like it's going to be of decent quality. 2 brushless motors, just their standard 3000 kV motors as far as I understand. And no LEDs. Looks like we'll have decent cooling. These nacelles have some inlets to get some air in there because the spinner is going to block some of the air pressure. And interestingly enough, this particular 3-bladed prop looks to be about the exact same size as the 3-bladed prop that would be on the F4U Corsair UMX, which is not a brushless motor. And if somebody was interested in trying to make their F4U Corsair look right with a brushless motor, you could possibly use that. So that's pretty cool. No flaps, no split flaps. I believe this has something to do with the way the gear would be up. This is simulating the gear. And the gear do come off quite easy. They just pull straight out. And same with the nose gear. It's just like on the UMX F16, except even easier to get to. So let's talk about getting this thing set up. Well, first of all, let's unbox the rest of the stuff. There's a manual in here, and then there's one other small little bag that fell down, and it has Velcro to attach a battery or to attach to your battery pack. The recommended pack that Eflite recommends here is going to be their 850 milliamp hour 2S, and I'm just going to confirm that. You want to try to see it over here. Well, it's going to be in the manual here shortly. Oops. Sorry, it's over here, guys. It tells you what you need to choose and all that good stuff. 2S. Yeah, 450 through 800 milliamp hour. So really, in my case, I have 2 different ideas for what I want to do for power. This is option 1, possibly. This is a 400 milliamp hour pack, so it's actually a little bit smaller than they recommend. Now this is a 370 milliamp hour pack, but they have the necessary JST connector. And what I had thought about doing was doing a parallel connection here between 2 370s. And when I say parallel, I mean red to red and black to black, not series red to black, and then so on and so forth to make a new port. That would make this a 4S pack. You don't want that. You want these in parallel, which is red to red, black to black. And I know tons of you guys already know that, but just to avoid confusing for you newbies. That being said, that would give me 370 times 2, which would be right in the range that they recommend. And it will clearly fit into this opening. I bought these packs to fly my UMX Apache, and they never really worked that great. I did get them to work, but it was just a little bit too wide. So this battery pack, you can't find it, so I'd rather not mess with it. This is really the pack I want to use, which is a 1000 milliamp hour 2S Turnigy Nanotech. And I've built XT60 ends on it, which add a lot of weight that would be unnecessary in a UMX, especially given the fact that this battery is already bigger than recommended. And then, of course, I've got an adapter. I use these things in my gliders, so I may buy the same one if it works well. But I have to do some investigation. That being said, I'm going to take this moment to say, Horizon, whatever happened to Bind and Fly that came with a battery? Anyway, I suppose that would be kind of nice for a $150 price point. But at the same time, this plane looks like it's going to be pretty cool because it's got 2 brushless motors. I have a feeling it's going to fly really good. Nice size ailerons, elevator and rudder, everything's going to be good. So let's pop open the manual and see what it has to say about setting up the transmitter. And then we'll go ahead and do that real quick. Okay. All right, guys, so we've got the UMX Aero Commander manual. I'm just showing you the way I do this. I know lots of you do it different ways. That's fine. This is just the way I figured works. I don't follow the manual exactly, but I use the manual as a guide to get set up when I have a manual, especially Horizon Hobby. Some of the best manuals in the industry come from Horizon Hobby, even though they are limited in their scope. Okay, so tells you about the size, tells you about all that stuff, tells you what you need. Okay, transmitter setup. This is what I'm looking for, okay? Computerized transmitter setup. Goes all the way up to the DX20, okay? It recommends dual rates and expos here as well, by default. Looks like the low rates are 70, the high rates are 100, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it up the way I set it up for my dual rates and expo, because I don't really use a low rate. I just use high rate, and then I change my expo, because why would you want to give up throw on your servos? That's just nuts to me. So anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to start a setup. If you guys want to look over my shoulder here. System setup, disconnect, yes. Model select. Scroll down, add new model. Yes, that's 46 models, in case you're wondering. Great. This will be number 47. Okay. Model name, this is a part where I type in aerocommander. Okay. Wow, look at that, guys. I didn't even have to. That's awesome. Always makes me feel better when I can save time. And I hate that it starts at the back of the letter list. Aero. Okay, pause it and we'll get that scrolled in. All right, guys, so we got the name in there. So we'll just go back. Obviously, aircraft type is going to be normal. And that's cited here in the manual. It's going to tell you somewhere. It says, okay, to obtain the best flight performance, we recommend using DSM-2, DSM-X, transmitter capable of dual rates before blah, blah, blah. Start with a blank acro. That's because there's settings you may not have thought of that you need to clear on another one. It's always a good idea. I don't know why you wouldn't start with a new one. That'd be totally stupid. So, okay. So always rebind after you set up your new transmitter setup. The reason for that is because the fail safes go through that. So if you had one with a fail safe in a different condition, that'd be very strange too, because why would you have fail safe any other than throttle down, rudder straight, elevator straight, aileron straight? The reason you wouldn't is because you would have trim. So anyway, it's not really that big a deal. Either way, okay, so program, start with the new acro, select the wing type, one aileron, one flap. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so we're gonna go one aileron, one flap. I didn't expect that. Tail is normal. Leave all settings at their default values. The gear switch will control the save function, okay. I'll play with that later. Okay, so we need to go into flap mode and we need to inhibit it. What? Why would we need to do that? That's not normal on this. I'm just reading through this list here. So it looks like that's all set up normal. So if I go down to channel assign, you can see how it says that stuff. Okay, so they give us a 6-minute timer and they want the one out to not be on. I'm going to turn it on. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to timer, change it to 6. I'm turning on one time, and I'm turning on tone and vibrate, okay? So that means when I move the stick, it starts the timer. When I put the stick down, it keeps running, keeps running, keeps running. The only drawback with that is there's no way to pause it, and that's kind of annoying, like if you land and you want to talk for a second or look at the battery. So I'm going to go ahead and clear that. Then the second thing I'm going to do that's very important is throttle cut. Flipping switch H, okay. Changing this back to 0. Okay, so testing it. Throttle cut is on, throttle's not moving. Throttle cut's off, throttle works normal. Throttle cut's on, it works. Okay. Two things you should always use is a timer and a throttle cut. Even if you ignore your timer, you have some idea and some warning. Okay, great. So now expo, dual rates and expo. For ailerons, I'm assigning it to this switch, switch F. For elevator, I just find it's easier to do this. Whoops. It's easier to do the assignment of switches all at the same time. Otherwise, it's easy to screw up. Okay, so ailerons, let's set it to, let's start with 10, and then let's go to 20, and then let's go to 30, And this is just kind of like my default setup. It's my go-to setup. Okay, so same thing here. We're going to set this to 90. And then we're going to set this to... Okay, so 90 and 30. Can you go back just a little bit? Thank you. So this one's going to be 20. And then this one's going to be 10. And then rudder, we'll just go 15. We'll go 30. And we'll go 45. Now guys, as soon as one of you tries to say that's wrong, first of all, understand expo is subjective. But the reason I do it the way I do is because I have one switch that I can quickly recover if I start feeling like I'm not having enough control. If you have 3 switches, like for instance C, F, and whatever this is, G, okay? So suppose you use 3, great. You can fine tune all 3 axes of control. My experience has been that when I make my changes, I kind of know that the aileron and elevator end up being about the same. The rudder usually needs to be a little bit heavier because you're always using the throttle. And you just find out what your thumbs need. That's what my thumbs need to start with, and I always run in the neutral middle setting. So I can always back it off, or I can always go a little bit heavier. After the first couple of flights, you start learning the characteristics of the model, and then you can go in and fine tune your middle setting, and then change accordingly for reducing and accordingly to increase. All right, anyway, so that's it. So now let's keep moving through the manual. We'll just leave that powered on for now. Actually, we have no reason to have it on, so we'll shut it off. Okay, so blah, 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 blah. Oh, CG, 18 through 23 millimeters. Let's go ahead and mark that. If you want to pause it, I'll get the... Okay, guys, so we got a metric and standard ruler here. We're going to go ahead and measure the center of gravity so we can mark it. It says here it's 18 through 23 millimeters. So from the leading edge of the wing, okay, so I'm just going to take 18 and 23, and I'm just looking for landmarks. So 18 through 23 would be right there. Okay, there's no landmarks there. It looks like that might be about right. Mm-hmm. So if you look like you're back here, that's actually a little bit far. That's actually about 28 back. So if you went right to the center, you're actually, it'd be the front half of that circle thing, which is a fuel valve in real life. Ooh, looks like this one might be a little bit further forward. Great. We might be able to use that after all. So if you look right here, 18, oh boy, that is really close to the CG mark, guys. That's, you know, for all intents and purposes, that's close enough for what I'm looking for. I always try to find on the plane, if I can, something that's already there. If you want to mark it, go for it. I would normally mark it, but if there's an object or like a landing gear screw or something like that, then, you know, by all means, do what you got to do. But I recommend not doing anything if you can just use something that's there already. Okay, so now, this is going to tell us how to bind the radio system. Remove the battery hatch from the fuselage. Install the flight pack in the center. Ensure the battery is secured by the hook and loop strip, which we're not going to worry about. Lower the throttle setting. Trim to the lowest setting on your transmitter. Power on your transmitter, wait 5 seconds. Connect the battery to the ESC. Noting proper polarity. I wanted to point this out, guys. This is the standard Eflite 2S Ultra Micro setup. Look inside this plane, guys. That is a JST. Good call, Horizon. Even though I appreciate these connectors because they're small and lightweight, not all the batteries have them, and it makes it a real pain in the butt. Then we're married to your stupid plug. So anyway, thank you, Horizon, for putting in a more generic one in there. That being said, it'd be kind of cool if we could get a battery with the plane for $150. Anyway, that being said, where are they talking about? Okay, I guess we're just going to do this because I'm sick of reading this manual. It's getting old. So power's on, throttle cut's on. Just making sure we're on the correct model before we bind anything. It still hasn't talked about actually binding it. That's crazy. Okay, well, whatever. I'm almost into the other languages. Okay, whatever. I'm going to figure this out on my own. I want to show you my solution, temporary solution for having a small battery, okay? Option 1, fly with a small flight pack. We might be okay on CG, I don't know. Right now, I have a JST to JST. This is parallel. Then it goes through this. A lot of adapters, guys. If I end up doing this, I'll make a JST to JST so that it's just like a really small, concise connector. You don't want to add all that weight to a plane like this. It's one thing to add weight, you know, in terms of the battery capacity, but you don't want to waste a bunch of weight on that connector. So, but for now, I'm just going to go ahead and take one of these because it's got a JST connector and we can get this thing tested. Okay, so throttle stick's down, powering this off. Throttle cuts on, so my throttle stick's already down. Okay. So that's plugged in. Now it's going to start flashing. Get a shot down there if you can. Okay, guys, throttle stick's down. Holding the bind plug. There it goes. DSM2, 22 milliseconds. Okay, that didn't work yet. So I don't know if I did anything wrong. It looks like yeah, it still hasn't talked about binding, guys. I thought that that was the binding instructions, but it actually isn't. Did I miss it?
I don't know. Do you want me to pause and we can look for it?
Yeah, why don't you pause it and we'll look for it here. All right, guys, sorry about that. I was doing the process right. I just evidently didn't wait long enough. Okay, so I'm plugging in my JST connector, which is the power connector. Okay, I see some flashing. We're leaving it level and just sitting still. Okay, now we're gonna hold down our bind plug and we're gonna turn on our radio. Now normally you want this to be so far away, but I'm trying to show you. Okay, so you see that flashing? So it's attempting to bind now. That flashing, see, we missed it. Okay, or maybe we did, maybe we got it. Yep, we got it that time, guys. It just didn't say it on my display. We may have to do this again. Okay, there we go. So we do have control. Elevator, rudder, and ailerons. Okay, and then we have safe. Okay, throttle cut is on. Okay, so my gear switch is not changing anything yet. Oh, it might not change anything until we've actually given throttle as well. Okay, so throttle cut is off. Okay, so AS3X is working. Safe is not doing anything. Changing my flap position. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Very strange. Okay, so it doesn't look like that's turned on. That's kind of strange because it was talking about safe. So I'm not sure exactly why that's not working. Let me take a look at this real quick and we'll come right back to you and explain what we did wrong. Okay, guys, after much frustration, pain and suffering, as is not atypical when working with radio-controlled aircraft, but we were gluttons for punishment, I can't find that Safe Select works. I've tried everything. I've changed the range on my gear channel up and down. I've changed to different channels. I've attempted to cheat and actually hold the sticks out and actually do assignment controls, which is similar to what you have to do on other transmitter setups. I can't see that Safe Select exists on this model as it sits. I haven't seen any nomenclature whatsoever in the purchasing that said anything about Safe Select. So I'm weirded out. I don't really need Safe Select, but I'm gonna be ticked off if they said there's Safe Select and then they didn't deliver. Because that's kind of a big deal. If you were new to this and you wanted Safe Select and you bought this plane contingent on it having Safe Select, I would be irritated badly. So anyway, with that being understood, maybe a call to Horizon Hobby would be warranted. But being as we are losing daylight, I don't really care about that right now. I just want to get this thing in the air and show you how awesome it is. And so with that being said, look at this beauty, guys. Oh, it's so beautiful. Decent rudder throw, The elevator just looks gorgeous. Look at that. I love that they're at an angle. You got the dihedral on the back wing and a little bit less dihedral on the main. Oh, it's just so gorgeous. And then this thing has some crazy power, guys. Check this out. It's trying to pull away. This thing has got more than a 1-to-1 ratio for power, and it's going to show when it flies, I think. That being said, stay tuned. Don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. We're going to have a flight video. You don't even have to wait a whole day, hopefully.